So I've currently just finished my 6th season with Glamorgan Cricket, and I've just got back from Oman with Scotland. Made my debut 3 years ago now, and we just finished a quadrangular series, T20 series with Netherlands, Ireland and Oman. So I'm just back in Cape Town, having spent a month all of January working with Gio Colussi at Western Commons Cricket Club. It's been fun. It was great to work with him for that month, and it was kind of exactly what I wanted leading up to our season back home. Yeah, so I flew over, I think, 7th of January. So I had quite an intense month working with Gio, and it was something that I found I've kind of really enjoyed, kind of not working indoors and being able to get outside and really do a lot of work on my batting while I've been out here. So it's been exactly what I've been after. Yeah, it's a little bit, for me, it was a bit of a fresh kind of ideas and a fresh look at how I play. And I spent last winter I spent abroad in Australia, and I kind of felt I didn't do as much on my batting as I really wanted. Yeah. So that was something I was really conscious of this winter, and I wanted to get outside and bowl outside, which was quite important for me in terms of an injury perspective. But I also at the same time wanted to really get kind of an intense workload on my batting while I was out here. So it was perfect in terms of the setup for me. Yeah, so growing up I was always did both. I used to bat kind of top 3 and bowling, so I was always, I think I ended up, when I was in England under 15s, I was in there as a batsman opening the batting, so I was kind of, batting was always quite a strength of mine growing up. And I kind of, as I went up through the age groups and started getting into men's teams, my bowling was getting me into teams before my batting quite got there, so it kind of, I feel like it dropped off a little bit as I kind of grew into the men's game a bit. And I think it's getting there, and I feel like I've got the capability to push up into that genuine all-rounder slot, which is what I'm aiming for really. It's kind of batting like 6-7 and kind of being that genuine all-rounder in the team. Yeah, I think you've always got time to do the work on both, and I see it as a massive positive that I can go into games, and if one's not quite on form, I've always got another chance. So I see it as a massive positive, and the more I can work on getting them as close to each other as possible, then I think the more that's going to help me in the future. And also looking ahead to all white ball stuff, the more all-rounders you have, the better for teams. So it's certain for my development. Added to that with my fielding, I almost want to turn into a genuine 3-dimensional cricketer.
Okay. You were fielding quite good?
I'd like to think it's okay. It's something that I can always work on. But I played so many sports when I was younger, and I think from that I'm quite agile in general, apart from maybe after a long spell. So it's always something I work on. But I feel that I can get to a stage where I can add value in all 3 departments. I think it's a big part of senior games, obviously, the transition from when you grow up, you're almost front foot bullies, and a lot of, depending how good you are, and you don't get a lot of short ball stuff, whereas when you get into the men's game and get into certainly professional cricket, it gets slowly more and more back foot dominated, and then when you go into Test cricket, you got guys bowling 150 and they're pushing you back. So it's kind of, I think it got to this stage my bowling was pushing me further up, and I wouldn't say I really struggled with the bat, but it certainly dropped off a little bit, I feel, and maybe that was a bit to do with I wasn't working on it so as much as I probably should have, but it's something I really wanted to address, and it's something I can see. I feel like I can really push that forward and really contribute with the bat this season and going forward. There's not a huge amount of pace in county cricket. You do come up against the odd bowler, but it's something that you get used to. The more you face it, the easier it becomes. But it's something that I think I've certainly looked at improving. But you get a lot more little medium pacers that are swinging it and nipping it than potentially in South Africa or Australia where the pitches are a bit flatter. But there's certainly the odd bowler. We came across Ollie Stone this year in the 4-day stuff, and he's not too shabby. He's can rush you a little bit. I think most of the guys prefer it in blocks. It means you can concentrate on that one format, and you're not. I think in past previous seasons, I remember we've gone and played a 4-day game, and then the day after played a T20, and I think a few of the guys, it's just that mix of skills, and it can be a bit tricky at times. So I think most of the guys certainly prefer the season chopped up into blocks, and I know in last year and the year before we played a lot of championship matches right at the start and right at the end. So I know this year now we've got a bit more in the middle, which I think is a lot better, because I think some of those games right at the start and right at the end were rather shortened games in general. But it's I think certainly I'd much prefer the blocks, splitting into blocks. Yeah, I think I'm enjoying it is the main thing. If you don't enjoy it, you're never going to be willing to put the work in to improve. So I think making sure it's enjoyable as possible, especially as a kid, it's the last thing you want as a child. Like a kid is going and not enjoying a sport, which is what it's meant to be doing. What it's meant to do is you're meant to enjoy it. So doing it for the wrong reasons, doing it because your parents want you to do it, is the recipe for disaster, I think. And you end up actually hating sport more than you would do. So I think it's almost being driven by the child is the best way of doing it, because then they're willing to put the extra hours into really pushing forward and improve. So that's obviously I think Ireland and Afghanistan have shown you can progress. I know the Scotland guys are fully professional now, and the Netherlands, so they've got the time to work, and I think some of the results the associates are putting in kind of shows the amount of work they've put in, and it's just a shame the ICC haven't kind of recognised that and they've obviously cut the World Cup for this year in terms of the number of teams, which is a real shame, because I think the associates now can challenge the 4 member nations, and I think they've showed that they can cause upsets and kind of can progress in those tournaments. So it's hopefully something the ICC will look at, but for now the only thing the associates can do is when they come up, get the opportunity to showcase their skills, they do it as they have been doing. Yeah, it was one of those crazy days where everything, I think we bowled really well, and we kind of had them under pressure from the first ball of the game, really. But it was one of those days where everything was, all those half chances that kind of maybe fly through the covers and don't go to anywhere, they were going to hand, and then once we kind of took those first couple of wickets, we bowled superbly well. Alistair Evans as well opened the bowling, and Adrian Neil, they were both fantastic in terms of keeping that pressure on and never really let them off the hook. And I know in a lot of those games, there's always a partnership somewhere. Yeah. Like someone gets a 20 or a 30 and just it drags it out a little bit, but we just kept the pressure on them all the way and finished it off pretty quickly in the end, which was a strange day really, but like a really good performance. Yeah, it was kind of a combination of a bit of luck and a bit of as a group we bowled really well, so it was kind of didn't let them get away at all, and I think it was just one of those that they just kind of collapsed. But it's they showed certainly in the next 2 games that they pushed us hard, and it wasn't, the 24 all out wasn't an indication of where they were at as a nation. So I think it was kind of good they pushed us so hard in the second and third games, so it kind of potentially made that 24 stand out as much as it should have done the way we played. I think from personally I was just really kind of focusing in, and I think it was a case of having played the 3 2020s, we weren't too keen on being out in the field for the whole game, so I think we were but that was something that I was really impressive, especially and I was really pleased with for myself, and I'm sure the other guys were, that we never let up, and we were really ruthless in how we finished that game off. Nothing special. I felt like I'd bowled been bowling well and the ball had been coming out nicely. It was potentially a case of I'd had a bit of bad luck in one of the previous games. I'd had a catch not given out and dropped catches, and it was a tough one to take for me because personally I felt like the ball was coming out well. So then to have that justification in the next match and to get the performance was really pleasing from my point of view. But it was something that I felt was coming in the way I was bowling, and then it was a bit unfortunate in the next game I'd kind of pulled up with a little niggle, but thankfully that seems to have cleared up, and hopefully I should be ready to go for the season now when I get back. Yeah, I think we just didn't want to let them up off the hook, and I think potentially it might have been guilty of being complacent, but I didn't see that myself. I think they just played a lot better. They obviously had a point to prove after the day before, so I think they were really fired up, and it turned into quite a heated match. And I think it was expected they were obviously there was going to be a reaction from them, and they played well. They were all over us in the field, and it was a tough game coming off. Obviously didn't help. I came off. I only bowled 3 overs, so I think that certainly hamstrung us, especially at the end of the innings, only having 2 seamers to finish off the innings, which would have contributed in some degree, but I think they performed a lot better in that second game.